Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here. So I haven't told this story before in any of my professional supervision, any of my classes, so I'm happy to give this to y'all. And I learned this one maybe about a year ago. I just kind of forgot about it, and I've been using it more regularly with clients, and it really seems to be landing, so I thought I'd share it with you all. So this is especially for clients who are very sensitive, who are very good at reading people, who maybe have histories of being really hypervigilant with trying to avoid criticism, people pleasers, perfectionist, which is probably all of our clients, and if we're honest, probably ourselves to some level, at least for me. So I always like this story because it resonates with my own story. And so anyway, I'm going to start this off with now I've had my own embellishments to the story because the story was pretty cut and dry, but I want to give you some ways to explain the why to your clients so they understand it more. So if anybody's ever went mushroom hunting, so raise your hand if you have. I grew up hunting morel mushrooms, and this is probably in more temperate climates, I imagine. We don't have those in Florida, but in like the Midwest we could go usually in May, and it's only on a good year you might have a month to look for them, like throughout May when it's been warming up a little bit for a month or so, but it's been raining. So if you go out in the woods underneath like leaf piles and by the base of trees and underneath old fallen trees, you can find morel mushrooms. If you never had those, like dredged in flour and cooked in butter, the best thing ever. They're so good. Or just cooking them and eating them, they're great. Anyway, if you've ever done that, you know that if you ever look for mushrooms, you know that there's some mushrooms that are safe, some that are not safe. And that's what it's like to have a highly keyed up nervous system that's looking to avoid criticism or looking to avoid danger or harm. And the way that translates in our culture is our clients are always watching, and not even sometimes consciously, but they're around people and they're picking up on who might be judging bodies, who's dieting, what their opinions are, and they're picking up on that consciously or subconsciously to know who they're safe to be around, what do people think, who am I okay with. They're not able to just kind of read a situation and then not personalize it. You know, as we grow, and if you're a sensitive person, as you grow, you're able to have a good boundary and know like what's you, what's somebody else. But somebody who's very sensitive and highly sensitive people who have trauma, people who've had a lot of, honestly, criticism and bullying and all kinds of things like that, start to internalize the message that they're not okay. And so they believe that they're not okay. They're a bad person. They don't have enough willpower, whatever. And so our clients are going to be really sensitive to noticing those messages out in the world around them to try to avoid feeling that way, because it's really painful to walk around feeling like, I'm just going to use clients' words, like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm a piece of crap, it's like not lovable. And so that's why this issue is so important, at least personally for me. Like, if I know my client's suffering like this, if there's a way that we can help them reframe it, help them be aware of it, and start to gear toward the good, that's what we want to teach them with food, with body image, with whatever. And this is somewhat kind of not trauma work per se, but it's definitely helping people have boundaries. And because our language is food and body and all that good stuff, nutrition, we want to help our clients be very inner directed with their eating. But it's really hard for them to be inner directed when they're so overly focused out there scanning for danger. All right, so let's go back to our story. If our clients are always, when you've had adverse things that have taught your system to avoid danger, to avoid being hurt, criticized, always feeling ashamed or bad about yourself, you're going to have a tuned up dial to 10 on scanning for that in your environment all the time. It never stops. You have to really consciously first learn that you're doing it and learn to turn that down. Not all the way down, because we don't want to be like walking in potholes constantly and acting like they're not there. We don't want that, but turning it down to a volume that's not obsessive and miserable, essentially. So anyway, so you're mushroom hunting. This is a story. So I give this example to clients. I will say, okay, so you're out in the woods and you're mushroom hunting, And let's say your grandma and grandpa are taking you, or somebody are taking you, and here's a little morel mushroom. This is what this one looks like. And here's the one that looks just really similar like it, but it's got like a little striations in it. And so you definitely don't want to eat this one. Pick this one. This one will kill you. So what do you think a person with a background of avoiding criticism, avoiding danger is going to focus on? Probably the one that's more dangerous versus the one we're looking for, right? You're going to miss the good stuff. That is what our clients' experience is like every single day with food, or every single day with body image. They gear, like their focus is towards like danger, what to avoid, and sometimes what that looks like is, we know, like being hyper vigilant, and projecting that everybody's judging them. Or it looks like, I'm going to be so above reproach that I will never eat cake again, because if I do eat cake, then I'll get criticized. Or maybe if I eat cake and I gain weight, then I'll get criticized. So I'll just avoid the cake. So some people will stop looking in the woods for the good at all, to avoid everything, to avoid the danger. Some of our clients, they might tiptoe through the woods because they want to participate in life, but they're scared the whole time, and they end up stepping over, missing the good stuff. They can't take it in. They can't see it when it's right in front of their face. Like, here's the morel mushroom. I see it, but I can't pick it. I can't take it in because they're so over here scanning that they, and they might see negative, they may not, but they're always seeing it in their mind, or they're always worrying about it. So our job in our sessions, you're already doing it. If you're doing nutrition education, like, well, who says fat is bad, and what will happen if you eat fat, and how much fat would you have to eat? You're doing all that kind of cognitive, that CBT kind of work. But that's not enough to help people not be scared. So if you're frustrated with your clients, like, well, I've taught them about this, for one, they're going to have to hear it 100 times plus. And just because people know something in their head doesn't mean that their body is on board yet. Our minds know better, but sometimes our bodies are still scared. They don't have the capacity to take in the good yet because they're too busy scanning, or they don't trust good, or whatever's going on. So the analogy is, you're telling this story. So you're in the woods, and what I'm noticing is, as you tell your story about your food and the foods you have to avoid to not get criticized, what you're telling me is that you're assuming that all the mushrooms are going to be bad. Like, all the people are going to be bad and projecting on you. Or you're afraid that if you really walk out in the woods, there's going to just be so much badness that it's going to be too much for you, and so why go? Or that you're going to make a mistake and eat the wrong mushroom and you're going to die. Because sometimes that's what weight gain feels like for people. If I do this, if I eat food, I'm going to die. I can't do this. And so all we're trying to do with this metaphor is be able to say, of course, given everything you told me about you and your history, of course you would be more geared toward the negative versus the good that's around us in life. The opportunities that are around us when we're more fully fed. The joy we can get from picking and being around the mushrooms that are delicious and nourish us. It totally makes sense that would be hard to let yourself have, to pick it, to take the risk, because it might not, you might even, some people don't even trust themselves. Like, here's a good one, but because there is a possibility of danger, do I really trust myself? Is there no white streaks in this one? Can you tell me there's white streaks in this one? That's like their clients say, it's like our clients that say, like, you tell them, your food looks good. Oh, are you sure? I don't know. I need to, they're the ones that ask you 10,000 questions that you've already answered. That they hear you, but their body doesn't trust. They're so scared. Their body is in hypervigilance. Or they're the clients that, like, I'm getting all this freedom. So they're out there, they're out in the woods, and they're picking mushrooms. But the truth is that they wish it was easier. They wish they didn't have to deal with the fact that they have to live in the woods with two different kinds of mushrooms, that one is good and one isn't good. And so they're going to need some help with grieving, and probably need some help with acceptance. That, to be fully engaged in life, you're going to have to get nourished, and you might not like the reality of this life, that some people are going to judge you, or there's going to be some critical people. So our job isn't to avoid being in life. Our job is to build our resilience to being in an environment and having good boundaries from the poison. That's what we have to do, because we can't disappear. I guess you can. If you want to live in a cave with no mushrooms, we can do that to avoid it all. But our life will be very, very small. And so these are the stories you want to tell your clients, or something similar that you come up with yourself. But these things I find very, very effective for people that you've given all the facts to, you know, or people who don't care about facts. They're just scared. They know it. They know, like, yeah, I get it, Tracy. Cake isn't magical weight gain food, but I just don't want to do it. I don't want to participate. It's too much, or I can't do it without being obsessive. You know, so they're kind of looking, there's some trappedness, there's some stuckness. So we can't do it from a cognitive place. We have to do it from a more body-oriented place of, like, can you, and what would that be like? And so you do your metaphor, and that what would that be like to be in the woods, and I was right beside you, or your grandparents were right beside you walking you through, or you had your guard dog with you that sniffed out the negative ones. You want to really give people something to work with to make it feel just even a molecule safer. So this is the fun stuff of nutrition counseling, you guys. So if you're new to all this kind of work beyond nutrition 101 facts, then talk to me more about what you're looking for, what you need. If you're a person who's doing a lot of nutrition education, it's not 101, you can still tell these stories. People love stories. It gets to our heart. It engages our imagination. It gets us out of this, like, critical, trying to get it right mind, and it gets us into, like, possibility. And if our clients have some wiggle room and some possibility, that's all they need, you know, to get out of that, like, that fear and those shame spirals. So hope you have a great day. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.